Welcome into the Sports Blitz on a Wednesday. It's a little different from the holiday weekend, but we were not here Monday, but we're here today. We appreciate you taking the time to join us. Sorry, we've had some technical difficulties. We're starting at 7 after 11, so we'll end at about 12:07. It's the miracle of the fact that we don't have to have anything behind us. We can, nothing before us, nothing behind us. We've got an hour of free time here to hopefully entertain and make you think a little bit. Give us a call, 968-NEWS. It's 968-6397. We're about to have the phone lines tied up here in just a moment, though. Josh Price of the victorious Dardanelle Sand Lizards won the Judges Cup last night with a big 68-34 beatdown of Danville there in Yale County. We're going to have him on here in just a moment. We're going to look at the Arkansas-Auburn game. I'm sure you've had plenty of time to talk about it and digest it and think about it in the last 4 days. But we'll do a little bit of analysis on that game. It's also a day before NFL season kicks off with the Seattle Seahawks hosting the Green Bay Packers. And that's a big game. It's an exciting time right now. Lots of stuff going on, high school football. We'll look at the high school schedules for each team in the River Valley, in the area that we cover here at rivervalleyleader.com. Looking forward to hearing from Coach Price. He's got a very good squad there that's favored in the 4A4 this year, which is a new sort of thing for them after the past couple of years where they were sort of behind Pottsville, Michael Perry and that squad were the favorites the last couple of years. So he's looking at a different type of atmosphere there in Dardanelle. So he'll be joining us here in just a moment. I don't know if you're as upset about the Razorback game as a lot of folks were, but we saw some positives and some things that we can carry over into this next week for the Hogs. They're going to look, Maddie. Here's the brilliant and great spot about the great thing about this game on Saturday with the Hogs. There's a terrible cloud hanging over the Razorback program, and guess what? The 10-game losing streak ends this Saturday, 3 o'clock against Nicholls State. There's no chance Nicholls State is beating Arkansas, so the 10-game losing streak is over.
We can start a new one.
We can start a new losing streak here in a couple of weeks. And then also, you look at the schedule now, those 3 games in a row that, Nicholls State, Texas Tech, you wondered about Texas. They almost got beat by UCA. If Arkansas can't beat Texas Tech when UCA almost did, that's gonna be an issue. So I know it's on the road, it's in Lubbock, but getting the win there is paramount right now. It's one of the big things on Arkansas's schedule. Get that win against Texas Tech. If they can get it in a couple weeks, they're going to beat Nicholls State. Nicholls State gave up 500 rushing yards to Air Force this last week. Arkansas better put up 350 easily on the ground, 250 in the air. We'll look at my predictions, the things that I said would happen in the Razorback game. Some things not quite like I expected, some things better and some things worse. So we'll look at that here in a moment. Are we joined by Coach Price now? All right, good. We are now joined by the victorious coach of the Dardanelle Sand Lizards. Opened his season last night with a win, a 68-34 win over the Danville Little Johns there on the road in the Judges Cup. Coach Josh Price. Coach Price, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm making it all right. We got out there with a win and got out injury-free pretty much, so that's 2 positives.
Oh, it definitely is. One thing we talked with Coach Cody last week from Atkins about the Rivals Cup that they've got against Dover this week, and it was very interesting how a couple teams, and you're one of them, starts with the rivalry game in week 1. How did that help you guys coming into the season knowing that you had a rival in week 1?
Well, I think the rival only intensifies it a little bit. I think everybody for their week 1 game is so tired of practicing and so ready to see someone else in another colored jersey, and the rivalry thing just helps, So our kids, our school districts butt up to each other, and all the parents know the parents, and a lot of the kids hunt and fish together. Just little Yale County redneck type kids. So it's a big bragging right deal, and everybody gets all excited about it.
Well, walk us through a little bit of the game. I saw that you were up 41-0 at one point, so obviously you came out hot, up 54-13 at the half, and final score was 68-34. So you put up a ton of points. Walk us through the game a little bit.
Well, we came out early and had run a trick play right off the bat and hit Parker Witt all the way down to the 5, and T.J. Tucker took it in from there. We were able to do whatever we wanted to do last night on offense because our offensive line did such a great job of pass protecting and blocking on running plays. So very proud of that group. But Danville hurts themselves real bad, and, Coach Crane tell you this too, because they sped the bleeding up by turning the ball over. They fumbled a couple times on the option or midline, and we got the ball on the very end of the field. And, when you get the ball on someone else's end of the field after a big turnover, it's real easy to be aggressive and take shots and things like that. So it was Christian Thompson threw for 2 and ran for 2 in the first half. Chris Kirshner caught 1 and threw 1 in the first half. T.J. Tucker had 2 runs, and then to top it off, Parker Witt returned an interception 50 yards for a touchdown to make it that 41-0 shutout there in the first half or whatever. And then we used that as a time to get a bunch of our second string guys that might have to play for us some Friday night down in the future with an injury or something like that. We used that to get some of those bodies out there.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the offensive line because I was about to mention the skill players. Some of the names of these players, you got Kirshner, Thompson, Tucker, Witt. You've got some studs at the skill positions this year.
Yeah, we've got 3 or 4 bodies. Those 4 there we're kind of our speed guys, and they do a good job, and they're all good football players. But the thing that makes it go is those offensive linemen, they're mostly returning starters. Tyler Calavita played a lot for us last year, and he's now our starting center. But the other thing that the unsung heroes, and of course Michael Dugan caught a touchdown pass last night, are guys like Michael Dugan and Gerardo Hernandez and Daniel Craig and John Siegel and guys like that they understand they're not one of those speed guys, so they play not be geared around them, but they're in there busting their tail and blocking and doing everything they can to help us win. So those are the guys that are going to be the difference makers for us, those role guys that get in there and block their little tails off. Or if the defense takes away your speed guy, we're throwing the speed out and we're getting 10 yards out of it. So kind of like what happened with Dugan last night. So we have a, football more than anything else, and you guys know this, but it's a team game more than anything else, and it takes the whole package.
Well, you mentioned the team, and I want to get back to the offense here in a moment, but to go up 41-0, I know you said Danville turned the ball over, but your defense had to have forced some of those turnovers. Some of them weren't probably just mistakes on the Danville side. Talk about your defense a little bit and what they did to get up 41-0.
Oh yeah, they were flying around last night. We did a good job. We did a good job of pursuing and getting to the ball and all that kind of stuff. So we were very pleased with them. Caused a couple of those fumbles. Coach Vega would slant a nose or crash an end or something as they was guessing what they were running and guessing correctly, which he does a lot of the time. And, unblocked lineman hitting the fullback at the exchange and those kind of deals. And then Parker rolling to cover 3 there on that play that we wanted. We knew what they were going to do from under center, and he rolled right to it and picked it off and went and scored. So some of those things were really good to see.
Well, one thing that I noticed is that you've got Christian Thompson coming back who, sort of derailed the season last year, not in a terrible, terrible way, but sort of messed some things up as you guys were playing pretty well and he got hurt. Now he's back and you can put him around this skilled position guys that, are very, very good. How's it been to have your quarterback back this year? How's it changed things for you guys?
Well, not just having him back, but having him back matured as he has and learning the offense. He was doing all he was doing last year, weeks 1 and 2, before he got hurt. And even late in the season last year, he had no idea what we were calling stuff. He was just running plays, And a year later, after going through and watching film and stuff last year when he was hurt and then getting back and then going through all the spring ball and 7-on-7s, he kind of gets it. He kind of, big thing with a quarterback and offense like we run, he has to think like I think. I've got a home run play built in, a deep ball, and they take it away, throw the short ball, and let's go get 10 yards, and we'll go to second down. Or run it and get 2nd and 9, and we'll go to second down, those kind of deals. Whereas last year, if we called someplace, he was forcing the football. And so I think I hope he's learned, and I think the game slowed down for him quite a bit. He's understanding our offense a little better, and that's only making it easier on him.
We're visiting with Coach Josh Price, Dardanelle Sand Lizards, 68-34 winners last night over Danville. Coach, this year you've got the target on your back. You're the favorite in the 4A4 from a lot of folks after a couple years of sort of Pottsville sort of being the one that, Michael Perry was around and everybody was looking at them as the favorite. How does it change you guys looking at yourselves as the favorite, or do you?
Nah, we don't, and we don't get into that. We've got 5 road games left. We got 6 of our games this year on the road, and we don't get in. We've never mentioned conference championship, state championship. We don't talk about any of that stuff. We talked about it last night. Hey, good win. Glad to get out of here injury free. We got Boonville next week. End of story. And next week if we go beat Boonville, then we'll have Clarksville, and if we lose to Boonville, we'll have Clarksville. It's just kind of one of those deals. I think it's this way at every level, but high school more so than college and the pros probably. it's week to week. I mean, you never know what high school boys are dealing with and what they're going home to. And you can't, in my opinion, I learned a lesson here in 2008. I did that. I think I made a big mistake preaching conference championship. And then we get beat week 7 on the last second play, and the kids know we can't win the conference championship. And I felt like we shut her down. I felt like we quit a little bit and lost 3 of our last 4 and finished the season 6-5 and preseason all this hoopla about like we are this year. So learn from my own mistakes. I'm not going to do that. We're talking about Boonville. We're going to watch Danville film today. We'll talk about Boonville and then move on.
That's a really cool way to look at it. You mentioned Boonville. That's the defending 4A state champs, folks. They moved down to 3A this year. That's going to be no easy task in and of itself. What do you got for Boonville?
They're, typical Boonville. I've told people in the past, when Boonville's not good, they're small and they play extremely hard. And when they're real good, they play extremely hard and they're really big. And that's what they are this year again. Their kids, every year this will be my 8th time to play them. And every time you turn a film on, they run 4 major plays and they are really good at them. And, they mix it up and they'll run it out of a million different formations just by moving a slot or a wing or a tight end or somebody around. And they're a very good program. Coach Hyde does a great job. And last year we went over there and they kicked us in the teeth and we turned it down. We were coming off an emotional loss to Pottsville, and I felt like as the head coach that, number one, I didn't do a good job of getting us emotionally back up, ready to play another physical ball game. And number two, our kids kind of went, oh man, it's the same thing we went through last week. Really have to play our tail off to lose by a touchdown or 2. Nah, let's just let them blow us out. And they did. They beat us 42-0 in the first half. So, at the time you think, holy cow, what have we done wrong? What is the problem? They did that to a whole bunch of people last year. So, not that makes it okay, but it is kind of what it is. When the game was over last year, Scott Hyde and I have become pretty good friends, and he called me and said, hang in there, bud. I think we're pretty good. And I was like, yeah, you think? So, that's kind of coach talk. But anyway, so we'll see. We're not putting too much into it. A lot of locals around here, we'll find out what our season is going to be like week 2. That's not true. We play 1 game. If we win, it's a non-conference win. If we lose, it's a non-conference loss. So it's another game.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, before we get you out of here, I appreciate you taking the time. I always like to do this with high school coaches especially. You mentioned a bunch of names so far, but are there any other contributors or folks that you're looking forward to getting good things from this year that you'd like to make mention of? I'd love for them and their parents, grandparents, whoever might be watching or listening, to get to hear about their son or grandson heading into the second game of the year and on to the rest of the season.
We've got a whole bunch of them that are all contributing. Some guys that are not big headliners that are doing a good job for us. I mentioned Michael Dugan. He's starting both ways for us. Turner Parton starts in the secondary for us, and one of Christian's touchdown runs last night. He gets tackled, if not for Turner hustling back and cracking back on a guy. Those front 5 guys, Josh Holmes, T.J. Gentry, Easton Carter, Caleb Hicks, Tyler Calavita, 2 guys who were out last night that'll be back, Travis Hale and Dakota Thomas are doing a good job for us. We've got 2 sophomores starting on the D-line, Javier Lopez and Caden Brown, that they forced most of those fumbles last night. So, and they're big old strong kids. So, future's looking bright. We start a bunch of underclassmen, have a good senior class, but hopefully we can keep the thing rolling. And like I said, just take it 1 week at a time. We'll go from there.
All right, you got Boonville this next Friday at home.
Home, yep. Home opener 1-4.
All right. Well, that's going to be a good one. You get out there and watch it, folks. You got to get out to Keenan Field and watch the Dardanelle Sand Lizards and Boonville Bearcats. That's going to be a great one. Coach Price, we appreciate your time. We'll talk to you again very soon.
All right, man. Thank you.
That's Coach Josh Price, Dardanelle head football coach. They got a 68-34 win. He was very cordial and nice about the fact that they got up 41-0. They just absolutely demolished Danville. I do think a part of that is that Danville's down a little bit, and Dardanelle is just looking really, really good. That game against Boonville is going to be a big one. I believe they play Pottsville at Arkansas Tech, which I think is going to be a cool thing for the city or for the whole area, for those folks to be able to come together and watch that game. I didn't ask him about that because I wasn't sure if it was Arkansas Tech, if it was Dardanelle and Pottsville. I think it is, though. That's playing there at the end of September in Thone Stadium at Burkle Field there at Arkansas Tech. So now a couple other things real quickly. Before we hit the break, we want to go through the schedule. We mentioned the Rivals Cup. That was the Judges Cup, Dardanelle Danville. This weekend, Friday night, you've got the Rivals Cup, Atkins Dover in Atkins. That's going to be a big game. We talked to Coach Cody on Friday, and if you missed that, you can go back and watch the replay, hear what he had to say. He was very excited about that game. Also, the battle for 64, Maddie, battle on 64. Do you have that picture? We've got a picture of Coach Michael Banning, former Clarksville football coach, holding, and current athletic director, holding the big trophy that they're putting together, that they put together for Clarksville and Lamar to play every year. The Battle on 64. Excuse me. It's going to be a war. I've heard one of my kids told me, my youth kids at church told me, they had 6,000 tickets sold, so I went and asked. They've got 600 tickets sold, but there are going to be a whole, because I don't know how you would get 6,000 people from those two towns to come together and watch the game, but there are going to be thousands, like 2,000 at least, people at this game to watch Clarksville and Lamar on Friday. It's going to be a big, big game. Two teams haven't played in a long, long time. Talked to Coach Craner. I'm going to try to talk to Coach Jones on Friday. He has graciously told me he would visit with us, so we're going to get him in here on Friday, talk to him about Lamar football. Check out that picture there of Coach Banning with that huge trophy. It's kind of like the Golden Boot. Probably doesn't weigh near as much, but it's a big old trophy that the Clarksville and Lamar are going to be playing for on Friday. Also, Hector hosting Marshall, Pottsville at Gravette, Russellville hosting Morrilton. That's a big yearly battle there as Russellville plays the defending 5A champs. We talked to Coach Holt about that last Wednesday, so you can go back and watch that if you'd like. Two Rivers at Hackett and Western Yell County at Brinkley. So we'll talk a little bit more on Friday about some of these high school football games that are going to be taking place on Friday night. But we appreciate Coach Price taking the time. We're going to hit our first break. When we come back, we'll look at the Razorbacks against Auburn. I know it's a sore subject for some folks, and you're done with it, you're past it, and you're moving on, flushing it and going to Nicholls State. We're going to talk about Nicholls State here in a little bit. I don't think it's too much analysis that needs to be done about Nicholls State. You know you're going to win that game. What are you looking for from Arkansas in this game? What do you think Arkansas needs to do and improve on? They say the most improvement happens between game 1 and game 2. I'd hope to see that Arkansas puts up a big, and Brandon Allen said as much. He said we're going out for a statement win, which is kind of scary to say most of the time, but I think they're going to be able to get it against Nicholls State. We're going to hit a break. We'll be back right after this.
And we're back. Here's your host, Mark Freeman.
45-21. That was the score Saturday as Auburn, 6th-ranked team in the country, beats Arkansas at Jordan-Hare Stadium. 75th year of Jordan-Hare Stadium, 75th year of Auburn football there. And Arkansas was right there with them, 21-all at the half. The wheels fell off, 24-0 in the second half. Arkansas wasn't able to make the adjustments that Auburn was. Maddie, do you think, and this is the conspiracy theorist in me, do you think that the Arkansas coaches getting stuck in the stupid elevator had something to do with them not being able to make adjustments in the second half?
I absolutely do. And again, I don't want to sound like conspiracy theorist, like you said, because we weren't going to win that game, I don't think, just because Nick Marshall came in. Nick Marshall played well. He changed the way that the Arkansas defense had to play, and I think that was going to be enough difference anyway. But Arkansas doesn't get 2 yards of rushing in the second half if they get to meet with their players. That just doesn't happen. You don't rush for 156, 159, whatever it was,
like that,
in the first half and 2 in the second half, and 51, 52 total yards. That doesn't happen.
Well, the thing is, I don't want to say that Auburn didn't do it on purpose. They didn't break the elevator on purpose, but it did help that Arkansas was stuck. The coaches were stuck in the elevator, had to make a phone call to get. I mean, come on. And then the lightning delay. A lot of folks thought that would help Arkansas. It didn't. Jeremy Johnson was 12 of 16 for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half. The dude was on fire, and part of that is because Arkansas secondary sucks. It was terrible, especially the safeties. I'll just call a spade a spade. It was awful. It was a terrible, terrible safety play. You're going to have to see guys like Josh Liddell from Pine Bluff Dollarway get in there and play as a freshman. You're going to have to see, Lord, anybody else play. Rohan Gaines, man, he was awful on Saturday, and everybody knows it. And maybe he'll get better through the rest of the season, but man, you got 2 quarterbacks who, Jeremy Johnson had a 98.9 QBR. Perfect as 100. He was nearly perfect as a quarterback on Saturday. Nick Marshall came in the second half, had a 90 QBR. We didn't make it difficult at all. What was rough in the first half with the first 3 touchdown drives is that, and Auburn ended up being 9 of 14 on third down. Arkansas would get 2 big stops. It'd be 3rd and 14, and then you'd see a wide receiver, and I don't know why I was calling Duke Williams, Duke Calhoun all week. That's the former Memphis wide receiver. I was calling him the wrong name all week long, so I apologize for that. I don't know why, but Duke Williams and what's the other? Sammy Coates. It seemed like and Coates only had 1 catch, but it seemed like that those 2, burned in my memory, were the 2 that were doing the most damage. It was Melvin Ray was the other one that had a big game, but Duke Williams had 9 catches for 154 yards and a touchdown. It seemed like 3rd and 15, you got one of those guys standing wide open in the middle of the field, just, here you go, hit him in the chest, run for 20 more. It was so frustrating to see.
Speaking of wide receivers, I don't even know if I should say speaking of wide receivers and then say Keon Hatcher. I don't know if I should even say those 2 things back to back. But he is a wide receiver, I guess. He's supposed to be. He's a wide open drop ball.
Runner. We'll call him a wide route runner because apparently he's really good at running routes. He's just not good at that.
Yeah, that's what I'll say.
Part.
He's the
had a wide open touchdown, dropped it.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, and it made it worse for me because Hatcher's supposed to be the guy. Demetrius Wilson completely showed him up.
Demetrius Wilson played well. I want to look at the positives because there are negatives. You lost, 45-21. You lost 21-0, 24-0 in the second half. Positives are, first half it was tied. You tied the 6th-ranked team in the first half. It was a tale of 2 halves.
And
it looked like 2 different
fluky.
games. No, it wasn't fluky. Arkansas played very well. They were opening holes that you could drive a truck through. Auburn made adjustments in the second half. I think part of the issue, people are getting on Chaney for the play calling. Part of the issue is you sort of get into a rhythm or not even necessarily a rhythm, but the opposite, where you feel like you have to do something. They came out and passed 3 times on the first possession, I think, and the last one was a 3rd down pass to, I think it was Demetrius Wilson, drop for a first down. Arkansas had 7 drops in the game. You can't drop the ball 7. Brandon Allen was 18 of 31, so that's 13 missed passes. 7 of them dropped, so more than half of his incompletions
And
were drops.
You could say also that, well, maybe I should say it this way. You couldn't say that all of those were going to lead to points, but you could definitely say that one of those drop passes, that was a touchdown. So that changes. Like the other ones, it's like woulda, coulda, shoulda, but that one, it was a touchdown. He was going to score 6 points, and they were going to tack on another for 7.
Yeah,
so
and
you just left 7 points out there on the field with a perfectly placed ball that just drops on the ground. And the other ones, who knows? Maybe we keep the ball longer and they don't score 45. And it's more like a 31 to 38 game, which would look way better for Arkansas.
My prediction was what? My prediction was 38-27. Think about this. If Brandon Allen, and we talked about negatives. I don't want to harp too much on this. Hunter Henry's going to be a great receiver. He caught his first touchdown pass. His first pass reception was a 14-yard touchdown, the first touchdown of the game. But he missed a block on a play in the third quarter. It was early in the third quarter when Arkansas was down 7 and had the ball. They ran the same play that got Keon Hatcher wide open. He was wide open again. They said he was 3 or 4 yards beyond the secondary. And when Brandon Allen goes to throw it, Hunter Henry had missed a block and gets hit in the face, and the ball flutters and pick 6. So Arkansas goes from down 7 to down 14, when really if that play goes like a lot of folks talked about it going as a touchdown, it's a tie game. Yeah. So that's a huge swing. Things change, and instead of it being 45-21, it's 38-27 is more likely. So I think it all swung on one play where Brandon Allen's gonna be the bad guy. It's sort of like the first play or the first series of the game when Brandon Allen runs for about 9 yards or whatever it was, and just gets down a half yard short, and everybody's, oh, you got to know where the sticks are. Well, I've never
hurt
been
himself first game of the year.
I've never been a Division I, quarterback running for my life in the first series of the game. He dove head first. He didn't slide. He dove head first. Yeah, he was this short of the first down. I'm not gonna kill him for that. I think that he played well enough to win the game, at least to compete in the game. The running backs in the first half, looking at the positives, they played pretty well. Alex Collins looked really, really good. I thought it was going to be Jonathan Williams that was going to be the guy. I mentioned that on Friday. Thought he was going to be the focal point, the better one. But Alex Collins was the guy in the first half. 10 carries for 68 yards in the game. He was averaging over 10 yards a carry for a long time. Corliss Marshall 8 for 45 and 7 for 34 for Jonathan Williams. Corliss Marshall went out with
how many carries
bruised
again did you
arm
say?
For who?
Alex.
Alex had 10 carries.
See, that just kills me.
Well, they didn't get in the second half. You get down 14 points, and you're trying to throw to come back, so you're continuing to throw. But and that's why I think it gets skewed a little bit. You got guys dropping passes all over the place too. So think about it. If the guys just caught the ball that was thrown to him. Now, Demetrius Wilson, on the flip side, did make a couple catches that were just like, wow, that was a really good catch. Should have been an incompletion, but you caught it. So we have to give them that. But if they just make the catches where they drop the ball, Brandon Allen incompletes 6 passes, and he probably doesn't have to throw many more because they're throwing to come back. One of those is a touchdown, and another one might be a touchdown if Hunter Henry makes a block. So what coulda, shoulda, woulda happened. Arkansas didn't look as bad as the final score. So with that being said, they've got Nicholls State on Saturday at 3 o'clock at home. It's going to be the home opener for the Razorbacks. I'm looking forward to it. What do you expect to see? What do you want to see from Arkansas in that game? I think that who we got? We got Jason coming in here in just a moment. I think Arkansas has got to do what Brandon Allen said, and that's just absolutely crush Nicholls State. Just absolutely demolish Nicholls State and give them exactly what Air Force gave. They gave them 511 yards last week against Air Force. Nicholls State did. So I'm looking forward to seeing Arkansas throw for probably 250 and run for 350 or so, 600 total yards in a game. That'll be a nice little game there for Arkansas against Nicholls State. I'm looking forward to seeing who does what. I think you're going to see guys step up. You're going to see the offensive line just dominate. I really, really, really want to see the defense improve from week 1 to week 2. And like we said, the biggest improvement normally comes from week 1 to week 2. So you're going to see some improvement going into that third game, and I'm looking forward to getting a home opening win. And Jason, like I said earlier on, Arkansas is on a 10-game losing streak, but the silver lining, the wonderful part about that is it ends Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think you'll see a bunch of young people playing. I think it'll get a lot of experience. Hopefully it'll be some defensive backs, some corners, and safeties. But yeah, we should just run away with this game, and it should be a blowout. And nothing but positive coming out of this next game.
Well, what did you see from you were at the game? What did you see from the Arkansas Auburn game there? Like we said, it wasn't. I don't think it was as bad as the final score. I think there are some positives that can be taken from it.
Oh, definitely. At halftime it was tied 21-21. So if you're playing a number, I think they're number 5 in the country now, but they were number 6 at the time. But if you're playing a number 6 team in the country, who's the defending SEC champs, who went to a national championship game, who's at their home field, and you've got them to a 21-21 tie, I think that was great. I mean, from where Arkansas was last year to where Auburn was, I think it was great that we, was able to maintain, scoring with them. But then in the second half, I think when we came out, they marched down the field and scored with Nick Marshall, as the quarterback, which they're going to be hard to stop. Everybody's complaining about our defense is horrible. We did miss a couple of tackles, but I don't think there's going to be many teams in the country that's going to be able to slow down this offense. I think they're going to go up and down the field on everybody. But I think that, you're talking about the turning point in the game, and that Brandon Allen, pick 6, which, like you're saying, it was Hunter Henry's fault. It wasn't even Brandon Allen's fault. And, the wide receiver was wide open down that sideline. But, the turning point in the game was that was a good one. But I think another one is at the beginning of the second half, when we got the ball after they went down and scored, Arkansas went 3 straight pass plays. And we were so successful at the beginning of the game, just running it down their throat. I mean, they couldn't stop it. I just understand why Chaney went to 3 straight pass plays coming out of the second half. I didn't like that play calling. And then, like you were saying, once Arkansas got down, they got down 14 and thought they had to throw. Well, we were down 21-7 in the first half, and we kept running it. We kept running our offense and kept staying to what we do. But if we run 8 times in the second half and we're a running team, in my opinion, that's unacceptable. Arkansas is a running team, and we've got to be able to just keep feeding our backs.
Well, I think you're right. I think Arkansas needs to run the ball. It got late early on them, as Yogi Berra would say. They thought, "Oh crap, we better throw the ball," and maybe they'll be off balance because they're stacking the box and telling us to throw it. And here we are with an advantage. I think Jim Chaney probably got stuck. I think that's probably what happened. He sort of thought, I can throw because they're sort of forcing us into it, and I'm going to just take advantage of my opportunities, but people just kept dropping the ball. I do think Brett Bielema and Chaney probably had a come to Jesus on Saturday afternoon saying, all right, from now on, we're going to pound that rock. We're going to run the ball, and, it doesn't matter if they've got 8 in the box. We're going to run the ball and make them like it. And then, you get physical enough that you can do that and dominate, and then folks are in trouble. You can throw the ball whenever you feel like it. So I do think that probably happened. I can sort of see where Jim Chaney was coming from, though, because if you look at that first possession, Jason, they dropped a pass on third down that would have been a first down, and then how do we know that they wouldn't have just run it right down the field, running the ball, and that the passing, So I just think on first down, if it's 1st and 10, you incomplete a pass, your inclination is, okay, it's 2nd and 10. Well, we can run the ball and we may get 3, 4, 5 yards, or we can throw the ball and try to, and then you get to 3rd and 10 and you're like, oh crap, we've got to throw the ball. So that's kind of probably what happened in my opinion there on the first series. But like you said, Jason, I think Arkansas's got to run the ball more than they did in the second half against Auburn. I don't know if you saw anything that Auburn did adjustment-wise to make it to where Arkansas couldn't run the ball, but it didn't seem like they did anything just outlandish. They just sort of they kept those truck-size holes from opening up.
What they've got is that Arkansas doesn't have is depth. For a hot, humid day like that down in Alabama, they were just rotating those defensive linemen in and out almost every play, if not every other play. And I understand that we've got a great offensive line, and don't get me wrong, I like every single one of them that's up there. But when you got somebody fresh coming up against you and pounding on you, I think that's going to take a toll on us too. And that's where I could see where, in the second half, I think their depth really came in. That they just have depth and we don't. I think our starters are pretty good for the most part, but after that, I think there's a big drop off between our first team and second team.
Yeah, I'm sort of the same way, and that's just going to come with time. Nobody likes to hear that, but Arkansas's got some guys coming in. You've got a KJ Hill coming in next year. He'll catch the ball. I can almost promise you that he'll catch the ball. LaMichael Petway may be with him. Will Gregg, he's going to be with him. You're going to see guys come in here who can catch the sinking ball, and it frustrates me to no end to see guys out there, Division I scholarships, that cannot catch the football. That's what you're supposed to do. It just drives me nuts. But the depth is going to come, the depth on the line. And Coach Bielema made mention of that. He talked about how we've got to set a limit, sort of. Bray Cook, as good as he is, he can't play the whole game without a sub. He's going to have some help. Frank Ragnow is going to come in and play a little center there and help out there on the offensive line. On the defensive side, they're going to have to do something with the safeties. Like, you can't. They're talking about bringing pressure and doing things like that. Yeah, that's cool. If you get there, then that looks really good. But if not, and you give up that 15-yarder right in the middle of the field on 3rd and 14, drives everybody up a wall. Those things are going to come, Jason. Those things are going to happen in the next couple of years, and throughout this season, I think they'll get better. Let's change gears real quickly before I get you out of here. The NFL season starts tomorrow. Packers and Seattle Seahawks. I know you're a big Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. You guys got Logan Mankins from the New England Patriots. So who you got winning the Super Bowl? I want to get you on the record here in early September.
Oh, man. I'm talking about my Buccaneers for a second. I think we've made some great moves, getting Lovie Smith, got a good offensive coordinator, got a good defensive coordinator. I think the coaching is going to be a lot better. I think the Buccaneers are going to go, maybe 8-8, 9-7, and make the playoffs this year, which is going to be great for the playoffs and forever. What now? You don't think we're going to make the playoffs?
Oh, I said, hey-oh, that's a little bit of a prediction there. It's like me saying the Dallas Cowboys are going to go above 8-8. That just doesn't happen.
Super Bowl contenders, man. Seattle's going to be hard to beat. They've got a great defense. They got Russell Wilson, who is just improving at the quarterback position. You've got Marshawn Lynch. Seattle's going to be good. San Francisco's going to be good too. AFC, I don't know. There's just so many good teams, but I guess if I had to pick a team right now, not very many teams win back-to-back Super Bowls, but I'm going to probably have to go with the chance and say Seattle's got a heck of a chance of repeating.
Yeah, I think you're probably on a track there. I think a lot of people are going with Green Bay in the NFC, so that's an interesting conversation.
I'm not a big Green Bay fan. Of course, they got Aaron Rodgers. I think Lacey's going to be good. They've got Jordy Nelson, wide receiver. I think they've got some playmakers, but it seems like they never can get over the hump or something. They always make it to the playoffs and usually go pretty deep, but they just can't. I don't know what it is. I'm not a big Packers fan.
Yeah, well, their defense needed some improvement. They got Julius Peppers, and he's 34 years old. He's not what he once was, but he's still a very, very viable asset there for the Green Bay Packers. So we'll see how well he does. It hurts that B.J. Raji's out for the year again. That's a rough loss for them. All right, before we get you out of here, Jason, last little thing here. I know we're bouncing back to Razorback football, but you follow recruiting a lot closer than I do. I know you saw on Twitter that you saw everywhere, KJ Hill committed to Arkansas. Makes almost no surprise whatsoever for Will Gregg, as he's just pretty much wearing his Razorback commitment on his sleeve. LaMichael Petway decommits from Ole Miss this last weekend, and he's wearing his Razorback gear on Sunday, so it's pretty well guaranteed that those three are going to be in Arkansas uniforms next year. Is the recruiting starting to get rolling for the Razorbacks?
September 1st was the first day of contact, so they went out and really contacted a bunch of people, at 12:01 a.m. So, with KJ jumping on board, from everything that I'm hearing, Will Gregg is already on board. But he is visiting Texas this weekend, which KJ is going to take all of his official visits to. But everything I'm hearing is Gregg's on board. LaMichael Petway has, I guess he's committed, and the coaches have, let him on. But they're going to wait a little bit to announce why. I don't know. But Petway is on board. Gregg's on board. KJ Hill. So if you're getting those three players makes that Arkansas is 9 for 9 on in-state offers that they've made to in-state kids this year, which that's the first time that's happened in a very long time.
Building a fence.
That's right. That's what Bielema is doing, and I think everybody's buying into that. I think that they see that Arkansas is going to be improving. And another kid that, nobody really talks about, he's from Camden Fairview, but he's now in junior college, is Dominic Reed. He's a wide receiver, and Arkansas is all over him, too. He's a 6'3" kid, about 190.
Can he catch, though?
Yes, he can. The first game this year, he had 10 catches for like 173 yards and 3 touchdowns or something like that. I know he had 10 catches for sure, but those other numbers could be inflated a little bit. But he did have 10 catches and can catch the ball. So Arkansas is definitely trying to bring in some wide receivers that's going to be able to catch the ball, hold on to it, make a couple of moves and take it to the house.
I hope so. So you're going to be at the game on Saturday, right?
Yes, sir. I'll be there.
All right. Are you going to be able to call in on Friday, give us a little bit of prediction Friday action?
Yeah, I should be able to.
All right, man. Thank you. Appreciate your call. We'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, I've got a question for you real quick.
Okay.
What do you think about the Ryan Mallett trade?
You know what? Ryan Mallett, I think they're going to play him eventually, if not now, very soon, because Ryan Fitzpatrick sucks. Like, there's no point. If you're going to be terrible, you might as well go with the quarterback that you traded for and that hasn't been a proven commodity and hasn't shown that he's not very good. Maddie, what do you have to say?
I was going to say... they didn't bring in Ryan Mallett to have him sit behind Fitzpatrick.
Yeah. Well, you've got Andre Johnson. Andre Johnson's not getting any younger. Arian Foster's not going to stay healthy forever. DeAndre Hopkins is a very good asset. Owen Daniels is a tight end.
Arian Foster.
I think you've got to play a quarterback that you think can take advantage of those guys while you've got them. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's stupid of Houston to have not done this before the draft. When we were telling them for months, go get Ryan Mallett. You can give up a 6th or 7th round pick in this draft, but have it over with. They can get Jadeveon Clowney like they did. You can have a quarterback in for training camp that can get to know the system a little bit better.
Just wasted time.
He's been with O'Brien before. I just think, Jason, that it happened about 3 months too late.
I agree with that, but I think it's a steal for them to only be giving up. Was it a 6th round pick or a 7th round pick?
I think it's a conditional 7th rounder.
Okay. And before the draft, the Buccaneers was real interested in Ryan Mallett, but at that time, I think, or around the draft, that they was wanting like a 2nd or 3rd round pick for him. So it's really, I think that quarterback
Garoppolo.
Rookie, yeah, I think that he's really came on, and now they're just saying, hey, I'll take anything for him now. But I think it's a good pick for the Texans. I think he's going to. I've always liked Ryan Mallett. He might be kind of scattered brain sometimes up in the head and might not really know what he's doing, but with a cannon of an arm that he has, and I think he will do good once he gets the opportunity.
Man, it cannot be hard to just throw it as far as you can and let Andre Johnson go get it. I mean, I know I'm oversimplifying it, but you ought to be able to have some success passing the football with the weapons that he's got. All right, Jason, man, we'll talk to you again on Friday.
Sounds good. Talk to y'all later.
That is old Jason, our good friend and friend of the show. Let's hit a musical interlude. I would call it a break, but we're having some computer issues, so we don't have the breaks on the computer. So we're just going to hit a musical interlude real quick. Let me catch my breath. We'll be back right after this.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
All right, I want to look at the NFL here in just a moment. Michael Sam didn't make the practice squad for the St. Louis Rams. It was a kind of a big what? he cleared waivers, didn't even get picked up on the 10-man practice squad there for the St. Louis Rams. Nobody else seemed to want him. The Dallas Cowboys do, though, because Jerry Jones, he knows two things. He knows how to market and how to make money. They don't know how to win anymore, but they know how to make money. He's going to make some money on jersey sales for Michael Sam, even though he's on the practice squad. He might even be able to help them. The defense is atrocious. I heard Herm Edwards say yesterday the Dallas Cowboys, and I almost say Arkansas every time because they're so similar in mediocrity in the last several years. He said the Dallas Cowboys were the 32nd ranked defense in the NFL. If there were 33 teams, they'd have been 33rd. They were atrocious last year. So he may be able to help them. They've got no defensive line. They've Hatcher gone, Ware gone. Everyone from that defensive line is gone. Everybody else suspended for using performance-enhancing drugs. Hello, Wes Welker. He said that a lot of reports yesterday were out that he took Molly, which is now a big thing.
Speed, basically, right?
Basically, an amphetamine.
Yeah.
Yes, at the Kentucky Derby. Remember that was the day that he's making it rain with $100 bills. He won there at the Kentucky Derby, and he said, "I've never
did some speed."
He said, "I'm not a drug doer at all. I don't do drugs, buddy." You're passing out $100 bills like candy outside the Kentucky Derby. You were on something. You could see. And Tom Brady, they asked Tom Brady on the radio, what was he ever? He was there with him. So was he taking anything? He said no comment. Ouch. Wes Welker suspended 4 games by the NFL. And then Jim Irsay suspended for 6 games, owner of the Colts, for his DUI. Suspended 6 games, fined $500,000. We'll talk about the NFL here in just a minute. But the college football season that kicked off last week, we didn't get to break down sort of what happened in those games. There are a couple teams that stood out. Georgia, good Lord. They held Clemson to negative yards in the second half, and Todd Gurley just absolutely went nuts for Georgia. Had 3 touchdowns, and one of them was on a kickoff return. He just manhandled Clemson. He is such a beast there for Georgia in the backfield. They're going to be very, very good. They're in the top 10 now in the new poll. Texas A&M, we mentioned on Friday what they did on Thursday night to South Carolina was illegal in 76 states. They just absolutely murdered South Carolina. So Texas A&M jumped up to number 9 in the top 25. You had Florida State, who survived against Oklahoma State. It was a 37-31 game. Alabama, who beat West Virginia 33-22, I think was the final score, or 33-23, whatever it was. Not a very, very good performance overall there for Alabama in the first game. Oregon and Oklahoma both got wins. They're number 3 and 4, respectively. So I think you saw what you expected from a lot of these teams. Now this weekend, you've got Michigan State at Oregon. That's going to be a big game there for the Oregon Ducks. If they hope to win, get into the college football playoff, they're going to have to beat Michigan State. I think Michigan State might be able to overcome it Either one of these teams can overcome that loss because of the strength of their schedule the rest of the year. But I think Oregon, if they want to get past that mental block that may be, and the block in a lot of people's minds that we can't beat the physical team, the Stanford, the Michigan State type team that is going to pound us, then they're going to have to win this game, and it'll vault them in. I think it will help them more than it will hurt Michigan State to lose this game. It would help Oregon winning this game more than it would hurt Michigan State to lose it. So that's going to be an interesting game coming up this weekend. But I thought Georgia looked really, really good. LSU, they looked okay. Wisconsin had them down 24-7 and just let it go. LSU continued to pound away. They've got some guys, man. They always do. That can play over there in the swamp. I almost called the swamp, even though that's what Louisiana is. But speaking of the swamp, Matty, did you see what happened in Florida?
Yeah, I did. It was
One
actually
play,
like waves
kickoff.
out there on the field, I heard.
Kickoff, and then they canceled the game against Idaho. Funny thing, though, they had players suspended that were suspended for the game. They played the opening kickoff, canceled the rest of the game, and the coach says, yep, they're back next game. They didn't have to sit a game. They had to sit a play, but they're
Question
back.
about that, what are they going to do schedule-wise since they lost that game? I mean,
They were talking about
they were going to win it
rescheduling.
anyway, but will that matter? I mean,
Well, they were talking about rescheduling it. They may or may not. They have an open
do it
week.
like in an off week.
They would sort of make it seem like their first week was their open week, but a lot of them have 2 buys now, so they could probably just take one of those buys and maybe move it into that sometime. I don't know. Their buys would have to match up for that to happen. So at the end of the day, though, Florida, you could probably just assume that was going to be a win because they're playing Idaho. The Paul Petrino coached Idaho squad, the Vandals.
Oh, Paul Petrino.
Yeah, bunch of punks. Speaking of Petrino, Bobby Petrino got his win, opening season win there against Miami. I watched it and it made me sick. His offense is just good. I love the way his offense runs. I don't like him now that I've seen the error of my ways and how I was rooting for a guy who's a scumbag, but that's neither here nor there. Bobby Petrino and Louisville got a win. He and Todd Grantham fought it out, apparently hugged it out behind the scenes, and Grantham, in his 5 years, $1 million a year contract guaranteed there, has improved the defense, which was, well, I say improved, they've at least carried it on. Last year's defense, Charlie Strong, he's a defensive guy. He had Louisville humming there on defense. So Bobby Petrino comes in, puts in the good offense. You knew they were going to be good. So I think Louisville's looking at being pretty good this year. So I'm frustrated about that. I'll just go on from there because it makes me mad. We'll probably look more at the upcoming week of college football games on Friday. But before we get out of here, it's NFL time. The season starts tomorrow with Seattle and Green Bay. You remember last year the Fail Mary, or I guess it was a couple years ago now, the Fail Mary where Seattle scored the touchdown on the last play of the game when it was intercepted, really. The last game of the replacement refs, remember that? That was a funny, and they're going back to the scene of the crime, so to speak. And a lot of people are saying Seattle has lost one game in the last 2 years with Russell Wilson at home. And it was last year. I believe it was to the Cardinals at the end of the year when it didn't matter, and they've lost one game the last 2 years at home. They're a tough team. That 12th man seems like 14, 15, 16 men because they've just got a loud crowd there, CenturyLink Field in Seattle, and it's becoming a thing now. It's like a college atmosphere there in Seattle. Green Bay going to have to overcome that. Aaron Rodgers, he's a bad dude. I got him at number 4 in my fantasy football draft, so I'm hoping that he can put up some big numbers. I had Randall Cobb, but I traded somebody, Randall Cobb and Jay Cutler, for Carson Palmer and A.J. Green, which I think Cutler and Palmer are right there. Maybe Cutler a little bit above him, but I put A.J. Green way above Randall Cobb, so I think I won that trade. Sorry, Will, I think I won that trade. But I'm looking at this game as being a very, very good game to start the season. Maddie, I know your Minnesota Vikings are starting Matt Castle. I expected that you wanted
excited.
Teddy Bridgewater to start there. He looked pretty good in the preseason. It'll be sooner rather than later that he's on the field.
Yeah, that's the thing for me is that I was disappointed. They're going to play him, but I was disappointed that he wasn't good enough to surpass Matt Castle. Because not to say Matt Castle's a complete scrub, but you know what you're getting with him.
But he is.
Well, you know you're getting with him. So
it's sort of like Fitzpatrick starting over Mallett right
Yeah.
now. It's just sort of a formality. Eventually, you're gonna have that other guy come in, just let him get his feet wet and ready, and he'll be in.
So when does the season officially start?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay. And
you've
today is
got
Wednesday.
Green Bay,
Tomorrow's Thursday.
Seattle.
Thursday
Yep.
night football. Okay.
Green Bay, Seattle, in Seattle. It's gonna be a good game. I'm looking forward to that one in big time. Looking at the favorites for. I'm sorry, I was a video playing here, so I started talking
Looking
and
forward
I
to
didn't have
that in
another
big
word.
time.
I didn't have another word there when I was going to talk. Looking at the standings here and previewing who we expect to win in the NFL. Jason said Seattle, and it's hard to pick against Seattle with how well they play at home and how good that they stand to be this year. They've got some of the best players. Like you look at their defensive line, they've got one or two of the best players in the league at their position. You look at the linebackers, got one or two of the best linebackers in the league. You look at the safety, they got the best safety, probably the best corner in the league. Their defense is solid. They're stacked. On the offensive side, Percy Harvin going to play, and I think he's going to play well this year. Russell Wilson,
like Percy.
Russell Wilson's not going to get worse. I think he's going to be really good this year. The one sort of, I don't want to call it a hiccup, but Marshawn Lynch, he's taken a lot of pounding over the last few years. I could see him regressing a little bit, but then you've got a man named Christine Michael, or Christian Michael as he likes to go by, who I think can play pretty well there at running back, and Robert Turbin, who can carry a little bit of the load there for Seattle. So I expect them to be right there and be good. It's funny to me how they just pounded Denver in the Super Bowl, and Denver's still the favorite. In Vegas, they've got Denver as the favorite overall to win the Super Bowl. I'll just be honest with you. I know the Dallas Cowboys, my NFC team, and my team are not going to be in the Super Bowl. They're not going to even be in the playoffs. So I'll just be honest with you. I'm a Peyton Manning fan, sort of like I'm a LeBron James fan in basketball. I'm a Peyton Manning fan, so I was a Colts fan. Now I like the Denver Broncos. I'll be rooting for them. Yeah, I'll be rooting for Denver to win this year.
I'm the same way.
Seattle, Denver, if the two teams rematched in the Super Bowl like the Cowboys and the Buffalo Bills, I wouldn't be too surprised. I don't think that Seattle is so far above everybody in the NFC, and I don't really think that Denver is so far above everybody in the AFC. I could see New England jumping up and playing pretty well, and they were in the AFC Championship game last year, so they could get Denver. I would favor Denver in that game. Cincinnati, I'm expecting good things out of Cincinnati this year. I think they can be pretty good. Indianapolis is going to take a step forward this year if their defense can improve, because Andrew Luck, I think, is about to have a really, really good year. And then Kansas City, I think they'll be all right. But going over to the NFC, Seattle, Green Bay, Chicago's going to be a little bit better. Detroit, they'll be all right there. Look at the NFC North, just solid. New Orleans, a lot of people have New Orleans being the team to beat out of the NFC. If they're just wanting to be different, they're not wanting to pick Seattle. It's sort of Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans. Those are the three teams. If any one of those three comes out, I can see any one of those three being in the Super Bowl against the Denver Broncos. I'll probably right now on day one say Seattle and Denver, with Denver winning this time. Yes. Why am I saying that? Because I'm rooting for Peyton Manning. Do I think that's going to happen? Who knows? Well, I mean, they've got the defensive improvements. You've got Aqib Talib, T.J. Ward, DeMarcus Ware. I think those guys
Wes Welker will be rested up.
Wes Welker will be nice and rested. He'll have his head on straight. He'll by head on straight, I mean
no more speed in his system.
He'll get rid of the concussion symptoms, and he'll be all right. I don't want to say out loud what I'm about to say, but my fantasy football draft is tonight, and I want Emmanuel Sanders. I think he's going to be doing really, really good things this year in that Wes Welker role as the slot guy, catching a lot of passes and being a security blanket of sorts for Peyton Manning. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play. I'm looking forward to getting him in the 4th round tonight in my draft, maybe the 5th round. I'm the 2nd overall pick, or 2nd overall pick, excuse me. I'm going to get Peyton Manning, or number 1 pick's going to get Peyton Manning. I'm going to get Aaron Rodgers. And then the 2nd round, I'm hoping that quarterbacks go the 1st round, and then the 2nd round I get a really good wide receiver running back. And then I'm going to try for the 5th round to get Emmanuel Sanders. If all things go according to plan, that's what I'm going to do. So MVP, I think